I have made well over $600,000 with very simple low-ticket digital products, and in this video I'm going to explain to you exactly how I made that happen. And first I need to start with a little bit of a sidebar because I have been working on my digital products business for a few years now, and I have wanted to get into YouTube for so long. And I'm just really excited to start to make that happen. So thank you so much for being here, and I would absolutely appreciate you hitting the subscribe button, giving me a comment, anything would go so far for me. So let's go ahead and get into it. I am honestly just a very average mom of two. I'm not a guru, I'm not a fancy millionaire. This wasn't some overnight success. I am someone who has been trying to earn an income online for a lot of years. I'm talking about over 7 years. And 2.5 years ago, I discovered digital products. It made total sense to me, and I decided to go all in. Truly, I was looking for a way to bring in a few $1,000s from my phone so that I could afford to stay home with my kids, homeschool, do all of the things. I could have never truly expected what happened because it totally changed my life, my family's lives, in a way that I really never dreamed would be possible. My husband was able to stop his physically demanding landscaping business. We were able to travel full-time in our RV around the country for a year. We just purchased our dream property on 30 acres and now get to start this whole homestead thing. We get to homeschool. We truly get to design our own days, and it is all 100% because of simple digital products. So just know, if you are someone that is really just looking for a way to earn an income, small or big, online, digital products are truly the way. This channel is going to be very low key. I'm not someone who's probably going to do tons of edits and things like that. I am a very down-to-earth person. I'm a very step-by-step person. I love teaching and truly love helping people earn with digital products. So if that sounds good to you, then you are in the right spot. My whole goal with this channel is to take you along for the journey, help people get clarity around digital products, content creation, actually making money. And frankly, there's just so much noise out there online, especially when it comes to making money online. And as somebody who has gone through the trenches with all of these different things, I just want to show you what actually works. Before I dive into the rest of this video and give you more about me, more about my journey, I want to invite you to Digital Products Academy. I have a completely free beginner's course and community over on Skool. I will have it linked below this video. Would love for you to join me here. You can immediately start going through videos, asking questions, connecting with thousands and thousands of other like-minded people. And it's free, so why not come join? I will see you there. So very first, before I get into anything else, I want to talk about why I even started digital products with the vast world that we have at our fingertips of tons and tons of different ways to make money online. Why digital products? Well, let me back up a little bit because I started my digital products business about 2.5 years ago, but I was trying a lot of other businesses prior to that for 6 years before that. I tried different MLMs, I tried Amazon FBA, I tried drop shipping, I did SEO jobs. I tried so many different things, and I feel like none of them worked that well. None of them really provided me with any type of substantial income. And frankly, I just feel like there were major flaws with a lot of these other ways to make money online. And as somebody who wanted to homeschool, I wanted that time with my kids. I wanted more freedom. I wanted to be able to design our own life and not have to live our lives around 9-to-5s and school and this and that. Because when you do that, you really only have a fraction of your time left. And I just feel like we have one life to live. So why not do the work required to live the type of life that you actually want to live, right? So my goal wasn't to become rich, right? It was to achieve those things that I really wanted to achieve. Live how we wanted to live, to be able to travel, to be able to homeschool, to have these core experiences with my family, with my kids, to be able to help my kids start businesses. These are the things that I was really dreaming of and why I had been trying for so long to figure out how to really make an income online. So here's what actually changed everything for me, for my family, for my business, was discovering digital products. As someone who tried so many other side hustles and saw major gaps in those systems, digital products were so very different. First and foremost, you can create something one time and then sell it over and over and over again. This is huge because this allows you to have a super scalable business. This allows you to make way more per sale. So I want to do a little bit of a sidebar here. If you're in some type of, honestly, almost any other business, if you're doing Amazon reviews, TikTok shop, MLM, anything like that, and you make a $97 sale or a $100 sale on something, if you're lucky, you're going to see about $10 of that. And that's like if you have a great commission rate. But more than likely, it's going to be way, way less. Because a lot of these things, they're physical products. The company has to get paid. The products have to get purchased. The items have to ship. All of these things cost money. So a lot of that sale is already gone before you see any of it, right? But if you make $100 digital product sale, there's essentially no overhead cost. You're not paying a company. You're paying nothing. There's no physical product. You don't have to ship anything. You make $100 digital product sale, you make $100 profit. So when you think about these other businesses compared to digital products, say if you want to make $1,000 extra a month with an MLM or any of these other businesses, Amazon reviews or whatever, you would probably have to sell between $10,000 and maybe $50,000 in that month to make that $1,000, which is really crazy because truly it's the same amount of work to market things and do all of that, right? But with digital products, if you want to make an extra $1,000, you just literally have to sell $1,000 worth of your digital products and you make that $1,000. So that alone was so huge to me because I could see how just an average person could make a substantial income. Digital products truly allows you to stop trading hours for dollars. It allows you to monetize any passion that you have. So you don't have to be connected to a company, which I think is really important. You could quite literally take your passion for gardening, motherhood, working out, nature, whatever it is that something about, you're passionate about, knowledgeable in, whatever the case may be. It can be so specific. You can monetize that, which I love. This allows you to go make money off of whatever it is that actually brings you joy. And lastly, digital products, they're pretty easy to create. So I think a lot of people think that it's going to be something crazy complicated, and it's really not that hard to make a digital product. I think with the right step-by-step process, almost anybody could set up an entire digital products business, not just the digital products, but the storefront and social media and stuff like that. They could get the whole thing set up in a weekend, right? And start earning. Whereas a lot of other things are not like that. So next I really want to talk about my first sales, how I actually got started with digital products, what I actually did, and what I actually did to start seeing sales. Because even though I had done a lot of prior businesses, I wasn't bringing a team over with me. I had literally never even done a reel prior to my digital products business. I had never been on Instagram. I had never created a digital product. I was truly starting from zero. And within my first year, I hit $250,000, right? So that just shows you what is possible. So whenever I very first started my digital products business, I actually started with a big course. At the time, 2.5 years ago, that was all that really existed when you think about digital products. I like to call these courses like mega courses. They're pretty expensive and they teach all these different things, right? Since then, these have gone out of the market, but some still do exist. I really dove into this training. I started doing all types of things. I started learning. I started really seeing what people were doing in the digital product space online and just studying everything that I could. learning how to set up payment systems, learning how to do reels, learning how to do all these different things. And frankly, it didn't take me that long to start seeing my first sales. For me, I think one of the things when I look back and think about how was I able to get sales within my first, let's say, I want to say about 3 weeks in was when I got my first sale. And this was a bigger ticket sale. This was a $500 sale. And again, with digital products, you just get that $500. So even my first digital product sale was kind of life-changing for me. I was like, oh my gosh, because I know what I had to do to make $500 a month with an MLM, and it was a lot of work. So to be hanging out with my kids all day and get a notification that I earned $500, that was wild to me. So honestly, I kept doing all of the things, right? I was diving into the trainings, I was doing reels, I was doing everything that I could to learn and get better and better. And I started to make more and more sales. So I remember my first $1,000. I remember my first $1,000 day. And I will say, I truly believe my first $1,000 day with my digital products business changed the trajectory of my life, because it was just one of those things where, like I said, I was just hanging out with my kids all day. I made one reel that day and earned 4 figures in a day. And I was just like, oh my gosh, because it wasn't some crazy thing. I knew that I could do that again, right? It was just such a light bulb moment for me where I truly felt like I understood how I could no longer have to be in the position where I had to trade time for money. I was like, if I could do this one time, I could do it again, right? After I had been in the space for a little bit of time, I really started to notice a lot of patterns that were happening in the market. I really started to fall in love with the idea of lower ticket products, more accessible product around people's actual passions. For me, at the time, everybody was promoting these big MRR courses, and they were all preaching monetize your passions with digital products, but nobody was actually doing that. They were just selling these big mega courses. So I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I pivoted my business. Even though I was making money with those courses, I knew those courses were going to have an end date, and I truly wanted to go build out my own thing, right? So I started focusing on lower ticket, simple digital products around people's passions. And I sold these digital products with PLR rights, so other people could purchase them and resell them as their own. They could edit them on Canva and all of that. And this started to explode my business because I was doing something different than what everybody else was doing, right? And I was just following what I actually wanted to do, what I saw a fit for in the market. And frankly, the rest is history. I put out a product that was a giant bundle of tons of done-for-you products. This exploded my business. I had a 6-figure month. It changed my life completely. And then after that, I started making my own courses. I had the Digital Products Academy, totally free, all types of stuff. But it started with just learning. It was not an overnight success. It started with having a really strong why and working on learning everything and actually implementing and trying different things and not being too afraid to look stupid. I was more afraid of looking back and being like, I didn't do anything to change my life, right? So the next part of this, I want to talk a little bit about the biggest mistakes I personally made in my own digital products business. Because I will be totally honest, there were quite a few things that if I could go back, I would do differently. However, I was learning and trying and pivoting and trying to figure out where I wanted to go, right? Biggest mistake number 1 is what I'm going to call shiny object syndrome. There's so much noise in the online space, especially over on Instagram, TikTok, and stuff like that, which is definitely why I'm so excited to be coming over to YouTube. But when you are in that zone and when you're in that algorithm, you start to get a little bit of FOMO on thinking that you need everybody's stuff, right? You feel like you have to have every single course that is coming out, and that is not the case. I have spent so much money on courses. And here's the thing, I'm a big fan of courses. I have courses. But at some point, if you've already spent $1,000 on courses, you probably don't need too many more. You just need to implement and learn. So I will say that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I personally made, was just consuming so much. You definitely need to consume some, but the biggest growth is going to happen from implementation and just action. The other big mistake I feel like I made in my business was overcomplicating everything. So at the beginning of my business, I built out more complicated funnels, more complicated products. My systems were kind of all over the place on all different types of platforms and linked together. First and foremost, this cost way more to do. But secondly, it just totally overcomplicates everything that you're doing. You start to have all these different moving parts to your business, and your business becomes very confusing and difficult to even work. So what I do now is everything is pretty simple. I have basically one platform that all of my stuff is on, and I just roll with that. I think especially if you're a total beginner, don't overcomplicate it. Follow one course, have one platform that everything is running off of. You don't need to overcomplicate anything, and it's not going to make you more money. It's just going to confuse you and in turn make you less money. And then lastly, perfectionism. I really struggle with perfectionism. I feel like that has really held me back in my business, even though I have been successful. The need to feel like everything has to be perfect. You worry so much about what other people might be thinking of you, and all of these things has been by far one of the biggest mistakes that I have made in my business. If I could go back, I wish that I could just not care about any of that stuff. Keep it super simple. Keep my eye on the prize and just get to work, right? And sometimes definitely easier said than done. I think a lot of these things we just have to go through. But those were some of the biggest mistakes that I made in my business. So let's talk about what actually works. I talked a lot about the mistakes I made in my story. What actually works with creating a digital products business today, not 3 years ago? First and foremost, simplicity. You need to have a simple business. If it becomes too complicated, it confuses you, it drains you, but more importantly, it confused your potential buyers, and a confused mind never buys. You want to keep your business as simple as possible for both you and your future customers. One offer, one audience, and one message is really the way to go. The next thing that works is consistency. It's kind of an annoying word at this point because I think it gets thrown around so much, but here's the truth. You are not going to be successful if you try it for a week and then quit. You're not going to be successful if you switch your niche and your products every couple of weeks. You're not going to be successful if you are not willing to work at something for a long period of time without really expecting any type of results. At the end of the day, you need to consistently be getting better at your business, and that's it. The next thing that really works is solving a problem. The biggest thing with a digital products business is making sure your product is solving one specific problem. People aren't buying products because they are 47 pages or 8 modules or any of these things. They're buying products that solve a real problem in their lives, even if it's a small problem. Creating products that people actually want and that solve some small problem in their lives works. So if I were starting totally fresh today, this is exactly what I would do. I would pick one audience. You could call this a niche. I would create one simple product. I would truly focus on helping a category of people and make sure it relates to that one product that you created. And I would stop overcomplicating everything. You need some type of social media where you can talk about things that your target audience are interested in a way that relates back to your product. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching my very first YouTube video. This is kind of just an intro into a little bit of my story, what my journey has been with digital products, my mistakes, my wins, what I would do if I was starting over. And this is the type of stuff that you can expect to see on this channel. Digital products, online business, actual how-tos on product creation, email sequences, social media. I want to show you what actually works when you are trying to build a business online with digital products. And again, do not forget, I have a completely free, full beginners course in community hosted on Skool. We have over 7,000 people in there already, and I would love for you to join. I will have the link posted below this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you can see more.